The next two speakers up we're back to our Wulf Cattle team. You know, it was as I was getting older and our company was growing and buying more cattle and getting spread thin, as many of you know, I started thinking years ago that Jerry needs help, not with just production, but cattle procurement. And as you thought of cattle procurement and buying cattle, you think, gosh, it needs to be someone who not only watches the market weekly and but daily and hourly, and watches the world and tries to figure out what's going to happen, understands the quality of cattle, knows a good one from a bad one, understands what all goes into weigh-ups, shrinks, slides, and then being fair but firm as we negotiate with the ranchers. And as all the cattle buyers, I thought there's not many out there without gray hairs in their head, like me. And I wondered if I could find a young guy. Well, if there was one out there, we found him. His name's Knobloch. He's been with us a little over 2 years. Him and I have had a great 2 years together. We learned together. He's taught me about as much as I taught him. And I told him he'd come with no bias towards Wulf Cattle and our model of value added, crossing Limousin on Angus cows. It's about the same time we were getting into crossing Limousin on dairy cows. I said, you help me figure this out, make sure we're on the right track. I'll let him tell you what he found. So let's welcome Nate.
Thanks, Jerry. To start off with, if I do some quick math, and I'll hope it's right, I'm supposed to know my math as well, being a cattle buyer, but Bob Scher from Tyson was talking about the 30 to 35,000 program cattle that we send them each year, and that out of their 6.8 million head of cattle they're killing is roughly about 0.5% of what they do. So if we're 25% of their program market, there's roughly 2% of the cattle in the industry that Tyson's killing, getting sold at the highest levels that there are to retailers and grocers and high-end restaurants across the country and across the world. And those cattle are coming from you guys sitting here tonight. That just was some quick math I did. I thought it was pretty interesting that as a whole, the group of ranchers we work with, we're very lucky to work with guys that are as progressive and pay attention to the quality and do the extra work it takes to get the cattle into these programs. So just a little information I thought was very, very interesting, and we want to make sure that continues and we can grow that. But what does Tyson kill? A third of the cattle in the country, or?
28%.
Yeah, 28% of the cattle. So the cattle you guys are raising would be in the top 10% of the whole beef industry. The other thing I wanted to address is the real value and the growing demand of our Limousin and Wulf Limousin cross feeder cattle. As you heard Bob say, as we talked to other cattle feeders that were competing on these cattle, competing with to buy your guys' cattle, as they talk to the retailers and high-end restaurants and grocers that are selling the product, I think it's very important for all of you guys to know that there is a real demand and real value in doing what we're doing. And it starts clear up at the top with the retailers supplying that, working hard to get that product moved. I know I've talked to several ranchers and prospects that we would like to get on the program, and they always wonder, well, when's this gonna go away, or when's it gonna not be here anymore? And I mean, from what I've seen, that was one of the things I thought coming on to the company 2 years ago. And it just seems that if we can deliver a product every week of the year, Tyson can sell a product every week of the year, and these stores and retailers can get serious about selling a product every week of the year, that it seems to be here for the long haul, and we've been able to stick with it through the good and the bad demand seasons, but it's always been there, and it just takes a lot of work, but it starts with you guys supplying us with the cattle. The reason that we feel that it is a necessity to have the Limousin genetics in these program cattle or in cattle feeding is, I mean, there's several of them, and as I've compared notes with other cattle feeders, looked at our kill sheets every day with Tyson, our Limousin cattle will grade right up there with the top of everybody else's cattle, 80 to 90% choice consistently. We'll have half the yield grade 4s, which is half the fat, which fat is way more expensive to put on an animal than red meat. The cattle will dress 1.5 to 2% more than most other straight bred Angus cattle or other cross cattle. And all those things add up from equaling cheaper feedlot cost of gains, more red meat to sell to the packer, going into these programs. And just as we've watched closeout after closeout, it's just, I can't stress enough that there is real value in the cattle you're producing, and that it should equate down to a premium on the feeder cattle if we consistently keep doing what we're doing and keep trying to improve the quality of the cattle we're raising. I know buying cattle, everyone always asks, well, what's your premium? How do you decide what it is? Can I know that in advance? And I mean, as the markets go up and down, and someone sells in June and someone sells in August, one year it can vary, it can change, but I just feel that if we're in it for the long haul and a guy is trying to raise better quality cattle, and whether you're running 50 cows or 3,000 cows, if you're trying to improve the quality of your genetics and maximizing the number of cows you can run on your operation, that you'll get rewarded for that as the beef industry continues to grow and carry on. The fourth thing I wanted to mention was just to kind of wrap it all up, and I've talked about most of it already, but the reason that we do what we do, and like I said, with raising better quality cattle on the cow-calf level, us trying to do everything we can to improve cattle performance at the feed yards, share our carcass data back to you guys, health statistics, working with what we feel is one of the best packers in the industry, and then them going on and selling your meat for some of the highest prices that any retailer or grocer is carrying product at, along with working with guys in the feed yards that get up every morning and want to do the best thing and do the right thing every day. I guess if we just, from the grocers and the packers to our feedlot guys to our ranchers, if we just all, strive to get better and do the right thing every day, I feel like we're going to be rewarded in this business.
Thank you. Thank you, Nate. Nate talked a little bit about carcass data and getting carcass data back. If you don't mind, I'd like to share a little history of how that evolved, and thank you guys and thank Tyson for making life better for us. If I go backwards in life 30 plus years, okay? I was in my 20s, hadn't been married too long to my sweet wife, Linda. But let me tell you how I initiated, one of the ways I initiated her, okay? So I called, it wasn't Tyson, it was IBP in those days, and said, we'd like carcass data on this cattle. EIDs weren't even a thought yet, okay? They said, well, we're not gonna record them numbers. You gotta come down here and put a carcass tag on them. So we go down, we'd leave home at 4 in the morning or whatever to get down to the kill floor in time. At that time they were in Laverne, Minnesota. They give us a helmet and a frock to put on. We got right in on the kill floor. She would stand there with her notebook, and we'd cut the ear tag out, and I had a USDA carcass tag that she then had to correlate the two numbers. She put that carcass tag in a little Ziploc bag, and we'd tag it on the carcass. That's what we had to all go through just to get carcass data back on our cattle. But we did that only with our pedigreed cattle. It was, of course, too expensive and too cumbersome, and didn't have the labor force to do it on everybody's cattle. But now that you all are EID tagging them on the ranch, we have every animal on feed verified back to its source of origin